Blazing through the sky, the doomed Peregrine moonlander on course for a fiery return to Earth. NASA's first moon mission in over 50 years is not looking so great. Hello and welcome back to Focus, and thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm sure you must have heard by now that the Peregrine moonlander, NASA's first mission to the moon in over 50 years, is not going so great. The US spacecraft expected to burn up in a fireball over the South Pacific Ocean after a failed lunar mission. But in any case, let's get into it. A US spacecraft that malfunctioned on the way to the moon will plunge back to Earth on Thursday evening and burn up in a fireball over the South Pacific Ocean. A fuel leak on board the Peregrine lander had made it challenging for space agencies to track the doomed spacecraft. But as the leak subsided in recent days, its path became more predictable. Based on the latest calculations, the lander will re-enter Earth's atmosphere at about 2100 GMT on Thursday, Greenwich Mean Time. With most of the spacecraft burning up in the east of Australia between New Caledonia and Fiji, the closest populated spot is Anaheim, the southernmost island of Vanuatu. The challenge with this specific object was the uncertainty of its precise orbital position due to the initial onboard venting of fuel, said Angus Stewart, the head of space surveillance and tracking at the UK Space Agency. Once that venting ceased, the orbit has become far more stable and we have been able to successfully track Peregrine. Predicting where and when space hardware will come down is particularly difficult for satellites in low orbit, as they often barely surf the atmosphere for several laps of the planet before burning up. Because the Peregrine lander is coming in at a steeper angle, there is far less uncertainty. You get an infinitely better handle on where and when it will re-enter, said Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics in Cambridge, Massachusetts. How much of the spacecraft will survive re-entry is less clear. However, Peregrine is traveling much faster than a typical re-entering satellite, so will generate more heat as it shoots through the atmosphere. On the other hand, the steeper angle means it has less air to punch through. As with all spacecraft crossing an increasingly congested low Earth orbit, or LEO, Peregrine poses some risk to other spacecraft, but the chances of a collision are slim. Our analysis, based on data from international partners, has not identified a risk to other space objects from Peregrine, Stewart said. Peregrine blasted off from Cape Canaveral in Florida on the 8th of January, on board a Vulcan Centaur rocket. The launch was flawless. Not a given for a rocket's maiden flight, but Peregrine developed a fuel leak soon after it was released from the rocket's upper stage. What caused the leak is unclear, but Astrobotic, the Pittsburgh firm that built the lander, believes a stuck valve led to a spike in helium pressure that ruptured the spacecraft's oxidizer tank. The loss of propellant meant the lander had no chance of achieving a soft touchdown on the moon. A first for a private company, and while it looped out of lunar distance, it was soon pulled back on a collision course with Earth. Astrobotic worked with NASA and other US agencies to ensure a safe re-entry trajectory as possible, to nudge Peregrine towards the South Pacific. The spacecraft performed 23 short burns with its main engine. Peregrine then rotated so the force from the leaking propellant helped steer the doomed spacecraft towards the ocean. Despite the low risk from Peregrine, concerns remain about the threat space junk poses as launches become more frequent. Andy Lawrence, the Regius Professor of Astronomy at the University of Edinburgh, said satellite launches were increasingly exponentially and that satellite launches were increasing exponentially, and that many spacecraft that fell back to Earth did not burn up completely, as well as the danger of large chunks landing in our gardens, it is increasingly likely that eventually a small piece will hit an aircraft, he said. And I don't know, we've got thousands of spacecraft, satellites, probes, commercial, many military, and many we have no idea what they're doing up there. But it's getting pretty crowded up there. So, like I said, Earth is amazing. Not just what we're doing down here, but what's happening in the atmosphere just around. So, it's quite amazing. But once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Focus. Okay, so it's 29 minutes past 2100 GMT. So about now, the Peregrine moon lander has either burnt up or is in the process of burning up in the atmosphere. If you're around Anaheim or anywhere near the Vanuatu Islands, you might just be seeing a shooting star. Careful though. Hate to disappoint, you can't really make a wish because it's only the lander. But either way, I'm sure it would actually make a spectacular sight coming back in. But increasingly all over the world, many countries, broadcasters, many large-scale commercial companies, obviously all the mobile companies have many satellites in space, and there was already a long-standing issue with how much space debris was in the atmosphere. There have even been recorded instances of, I think, at least 1 or 2 people being hit by falling debris. In one case, I believe it was either a meteorite or it might have actually been a piece of who knows what satellite from what country, from which company. But many companies are trying to come up with a solution for this, with many testing out new devices, technology, some with magnetic plans for capturing the debris, and others for, scooping it up. China has a plan for building, I mentioned this once before, a giant, what they want to call construction vehicle, which would also recycle space debris. But considering that we have so much ambition towards shooting for the stars, I think before long it's going to become a serious problem for us. The Peregrine moon lander coming back in through no fault of its own, a faulty valve, helium pressure causing a malfunction, and the propellant or the coolant leaking. All of these things were tragic. This lander was carrying many scientific missions, and as well as the DNA of over 70 people and the remains of a dog. Also Gene Roddenberry and a few of the actors from the original Star Trek program. But once again, as I said, what this highlights is the fact that through no fault of our own, despite our grandest efforts, despite our greatest minds, well, I won't say greatest in this case because it was a commercial company, not saying that the fact that it's a commercial company means that they are any less than. It's simply stating the fact that despite our best efforts, this satellite lander had to, return back to Earth. I commend the engineers for actually being able to steer it back on course and, how could I say this, get rid of it safely to a degree. Hopefully there's no planes flying around the area when you see it comes down. I mean, we don't want that to happen now, do we? But it simply goes to speak for the fact that we may not be completely prepared for what's happening, especially since some other nations, Russia, and I'm pretty sure between China and America, they most likely have some form of weaponized satellite space vehicle. I'm sure you've heard about the X-47 space plane that NASA works on, or the US Space Force is working with, which recently hitched a ride on a SpaceX booster, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously also China's, who has a similar, top secret hush program, with also having an experimental space plane in orbit. And obviously you had Russia, who had a satellite that fired out some form of projectile, and when it fired out this said projectile, the said projectile then fired out another said projectile, which then obliterated another satellite, I believe. But this happened a few years ago. Not taken away from the fact that it is not an issue or is not relevant. It simply goes to the fact, or goes to the point, that how much debris is in the atmosphere right now or in orbit is kind of unknown. It's estimated to be millions of pieces from many landers, from many vehicles. There are even second stage boosters or third stage boosters from early Apollo missions, I think, that are still in orbit. I might be mistaken on this. If you want to correct me, go right ahead. But the point is, some of these space debris, some of these objects can stay in orbit for years before they come anywhere near re-entering Earth's atmosphere, or should I say burning up in Earth's atmosphere. And even then, with the fact that falling from that height over 90,000, 70,000, well, it's more than 70,000. I'll get back to you on the figures. The point is, falling at that height makes vehicles or even space debris fall anywhere between 1,000 miles per second or more, meaning they burn up pretty fast. But sometimes, depending on how much mass some of these objects contain, and especially the angle they re-enter, it actually prevents it from being burnt up completely. So what happens then? We've got thousands of particles from all of the components from all of these satellites: silicon, rubber, metal. So you've now got the atmosphere lined with heavy metal toxins, silicon-based toxins. It's not looking good for us. Yes, all of these things exist in the atmosphere already, and as far as we're concerned or we're aware, aren't affecting us that much. But I'm sure you've been hearing about all of this: plastic in the blood, plastic in the water, plastic in the food. This is only what we've spotted so far. By the time it gets to a level where we can detect these things, as is so very often common, it's going to be either too late, or we are either going to be on the precipice as always, which is the only place we find the courage or the strength to make a change, because we either face or see our certain dooms, or we step back from the edge and see reason. In any case, like I said, our history is pretty vast, and we're making it pretty fast. I always promise to keep it brief, but I tend to go on a little bit. In any case, thank you very much for sparing me more than a few minutes of your time. Appreciate it greatly. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Focus. Take care and stay safe out there. There's a lot of storms, flooding, heat waves. It's dangerous out there, people. But Earth is amazing. So you know what? Stay tuned, hang in there, and take care. articles, check out the episode description. If you want to leave a comment, check out the trailer description for the email address. For topics like these and more, check out future episodes. Like I said, the world is an amazing place. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we just need to take a moment to focus.